calling the meeting to order. Reminder, cell phones off, please. Public comment, non-agenda items. Who's running the? And okay. That's just it. 2 people. That's it. Thought we had a record for meeting time last month, but just might do it. Okay, public comment? Anybody have anything? All right, we'll jump into conflict of interest declarations. Start with that. No. No. I'm unemployed, so I'm okay. We'll jump into the consent agenda. Before entertaining a motion, Shrop. Dr. Shrop.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm good.
Tough week on the gridiron, Drop to be right.
Hey,
I wanted a different. You didn't even make it from the seat before I brought it up. You did it to yourself on that one. Drop, any conflict of interest today? Any conflict of interest today?
No.
All right. We're jumping right into the consent agenda, but before entertaining a motion, Terry, you always have something.
Yeah, well, no surprises. However, if you recall, Adam reported one of the pumps over at Pump Station 1 sucked in a bird, and the insurance company covered it. So,
What was the tab on that? Just so
$60,000.
What?
Yeah,
For a bird?
yeah. We'll ruin the pump.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything we can do about that so we don't?
Yeah, there's an enclosure around it, and they're make sure that there's no way the birds can get through that.
We've installed a temporary strainer.
Yeah.
The pond's gonna be blowing up here in a few weeks. We'll get down in there and fix it and make it good.
Going to be a permanent solution?
Permanent solution.
Well, good news on both fronts. Glad the insurance company covered $60,000 bird. Anything else, Terry?
No, that'll be it.
Okay, consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move it. I'll second it then.
Mike and Shrop is the second. Okay, discussion. Any questions, comments? I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries unanimous. Thank you. We'll get into committee reports. I'm going to let you, give an explanation on the quote asterisk for future reference.
There's no action items this meeting, but to keep the formatting, I left the asterisk there so we didn't lose the space. So there's no verbiage in there. There's no actions that are going to be taken. So
Okay.
helps keep the formatting.
Thus the asterisk. We all had a little sidebar on what do we have with the asterisk? No action items regarding votes. Regarding committee reports, I just want to make a couple comments on it. First of all, we're kind of stalled on these committees. And first thing I asked Johnny this morning was if we can request Susan being on all meetings now. We've got a lot of moving parts. I don't think that maybe everyone on the board, including myself, understands some of the nuances. These annexation agreements, especially in particular, have a lot of moving parts. And I want to just say, we need to make sure everybody understands that with the annexation agreements, each one's going to have specific conditions. And that's because each one is part of a separate agreement. And as examples, some of the agreements or petitions for annexation will include flow-based agreements. Some will not. Other annexation requests will have SFEs to bring to the table for the parcel. Others will not. And others have SFEs but don't have a gallons-based agreement. So you've got about 5 different criteria. Some, and Ron, I'm going to ask you on this, some require water, that they bring water to the table. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a yep for the microphone. And so there's a lot of moving parts, and I just feel like it's dragging on since the first of the year. And I think it's time to get a checklist or even a matrix that just tells us when, where, and how we review these and what the conditions are for each one. In Susan's summary from July, I was surprised by some of the conditions and the fact that the recommendation was to tie the flow-based agreement with the annexation agreement, which was kind of interesting. I just want to confirm that in the future. So if we're going to consider an annexation agreement and it has a flow-based condition, how do we tie those into the same thing? I mean, does it end up that it's SFE with a cap, or do we have criteria that we're checking along the way? So it seems like our committee reports are tied into that. All of these, maybe with the exception of an update from Peter or Northwest Energy. Al, do we have anything from Northwest Energy? Nothing in the last month. I think we're going to have 4 or 5 annexation agreements coming to the table in the next few months. So we need to prioritize it, and I think we have to get the information circulated in a narrative from our legal, so we know how to consider each one of these. The other thing is we want to start looking at these from a priority. Right now, I believe we have a draft agreement in the regarding the Spanish Peaks request. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, so that will be a good template to start with, but let's start putting maybe some timelines on these. Hate to have that response go into 2025 since it started in 2023, I think. So that's it on the summary. Anyone have any comments on that? Any additional requests so that we can make this a little more efficient? Okay. Then Peter, you had an update that you shared with me yesterday. If you want to pass it on to the board.
Yeah, you bet. Let's see, last week, Aquametrics from Seattle sent out 2 technicians and installed the pilot system for the template assisted crystallization TAC system that we've been discussing for a while as an alternative to saltwater softening. So that system is now up and running. We've been working with Kate and Scott, AE2S, to develop a study protocol. So we have that down. We're going to be inspecting the boiler elements and some sacrificial unions there that we installed upstream and downstream of the systems. We have a control, fairly well designed study there, and we'll be gathering data monthly for the next 6 months and see how things are working, and hopefully we will at the end of that have a viable alternative to the salt softening systems.
Okay. Any questions for Peter? Great. Thanks for staying on that.
Yeah, you bet.
Where was that installed?
At the Powder Light. Yep, good area for study. They have 4 very similar, actually kind of duplicate buildings. So it's an excellent location for a study of the different systems and of controls. And we can look at them side by side and compare. So, and yeah, thanks to Lone Mountain Land too for participating and facilitating the project.
All right. Okay. Full business, capital improvements plan. Scott, see ya.
On my letter.
Progress continues at the plant towards the second milestone, solid startup, late October-ish. Be a ribbon cutting early October, community week. Everybody's welcome to come down. We'll have food and tours and good opportunity to see what you're paying for down there, although we won't yet be done with the solid culture building transition and totally done.
We have a date for that.
October 8th from 11 to 2.
We worked through an amendment with, Johnny and Terry, sent that to Johnny yesterday for review for a total of $400,000, basically to, restock our budget for, post-construction and warranty, especially. The 12-month final completion extensions that have been given to RCI and 15-month unsubstantial hit us, and we agreed with you all to just monitor that throughout the project and figure it out once we had a better view at the end of how short we were going to be. So that'll carry us through next year. There's a 1-year warranty on RCI, all of RCI's work, and just to help make sure that goes smoothly and any warranty claims are taken care of. So that's in Johnny's possession now. There's an explanation of how short we are in the letter. We have a new change order for $86,954 that takes care of a bunch of items that have been open for 5 or 6 months or so with the contractor just tracking. So that brings total change orders to $433,212 outside of the phase 2 process treatment basins and the aeration pond sludge removal. Just want to make sure everybody understands that that 433,000 of unforeseen change orders is just, it's still less than 1% of the total project cost, which is good. The large change orders have been elective. You know, they were bid alternates for the phase 2 concrete, and then the sludge removal from the pond was just something none of us saw coming as being part of RSCI's work. So just making sure everybody understands it's a good project. And while we've had a lot of little change orders, but keywords that they've been little. And we track those differently now than we did 20, 30 years ago, where a lot of that would have just been verbal horse trades with the contractor, where now, because of reporting requirements, we document all of that. So every $3,000 change is on paper. Wastewater facility master plan, getting flow monitoring data from smart lids. That's getting close to being wrapped up with the hydraulic model, and once that's ready, I think we'll give Johnny and Peter at minimum and Adam a tour of the model and go through it. Reuse management plan, we're gonna have an internal work.
I'm in a meeting right now.
In October.
Yes, sir. You,
Yeah,
That I believe will be Johnny and Ron and Peter, excuse me, Adam on that. So trying to make that reuse management plan useful in the short term, so we can fully finish it up and release it. Gallatin Canyon wastewater collection and disposal, 60% is basically complete, and the ball was in really WGM's court to lead the land acquisition discussions. There's been some progress on that. I think probably we should tee that up for a more formal presentation in October of how that started and how it's going, because it is affecting what's going to happen next. Long story short, we're going to have to run it up Highway 64 and work through MDT and Forest Service on that, which is going to be a high degree of difficulty and take a fair amount of time compared to running it through private land easements. So, water master plan, Johnny, Jake, Zach Magdal kicked that off. Our group is working on it, setting the project outline and master plan goals, and keeping going on dusting off your water distribution system models. Continue to support TIF TED. We had helped at the Madison County portion of that, so the infrastructure deficiency waiting on Sanderson Stewart for the draft of the Gallatin County side of that for infrastructure deficiency, which is where most of your reuse infrastructure lies. So we'll help them make sure that's as good as it can. Haven't heard back from DEQ. I should hope them on that deviation request. The 2 deviation requests, one for the GPD per SFE reset and one for monitoring down here for E. coli instead of call one like we do up at Lone
Did
Mountain.
you respond to that email that they had sent? I think he had some questions, I think, on the deviation for the pond.
I have not. We get that.
I'll forward it to you.
Okay.
I'll send it out.
Okay, and Cottonwood, Boeing litigation, my report is due, to PGS on the 25th, so next week. Continue to put that together for them. Budgets in generally decent shape other than, district engineering services. I'll put together an amendment for that one for next month's discussion. Where we put a lot of this stuff like the salinity management and the pilot study and that work. Questions? The Canyon, I guess, is at budget for the work that we've been contracted to do for date. So we're in a little bit of a holding pattern right now with, especially with WGM and the Gallatin Canyon District. Letting them lead that process first and then you all follow. Talked to Johnny a little bit about, it would be nice to form an agreement, joint powers authority with the Canyon. Now that this is going to move forward so that maybe we have one entity owning this project on both sides of the fence, one contractor, one contract. It's entirely up to you all, but I think it's worth considering. Just to help manage the project for the next probably 5 years. And if you'd like, maybe we put together a little presentation on what a joint powers authority is, what powers it gives you, what are the drawbacks next month. That's it for my update.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
What was the Canyon budget? I said you're on budget with the Canyon. What was your budget?
We've had 2 contracts. This last one was Scott Canyon Area Lift Station. We're down to about 4. I believe the original was about 230 for the 360. What WGM has led in the Canyon is to go get CMAR or CMGC rather than a design bid build. So we would actually advertise for qualifications from contractors to bring them in and put them on the team with us and help finish the job with them on board already. So it's kind of a hybrid quals and price-based. That's one more reason why it might be nice to go ahead and form the joint powers authority. So you have that group selecting the contractor and working for the next 5 years. And the reason to do that is because it entails a lot of pieces and parts under both ownerships, pipelines, pump stations, and you continually sort of iterate towards pricing. You get to see subcontractor bids and things like that. So it just lets you into the circle of the contractor a little bit more and watch that process and manage it.
So Scott, are you preparing that presentation for the Joint Powers Authority, or were you asking us if you should? I wasn't quite.
It's just Johnny and I've been talking about it casually, right? And it's like, well, we're going to get serious about that. Kelsey did put it into our scope and fee to help you figure out this fall. Those that next agreement for all the work, whether it's for the canyon itself or you all, may not be signed for a couple of months, right? Until we figure out what we're doing, what land owners are gonna work with us, the pipeline route, all that. And then we would sign that. But in the meantime, if you want to learn more about what a joint powers authority is, if you're interested and think it's a good idea, then it's actually very simple. It's one page of code. Walk you through it, explain where it's been used previously and how it works.
Here's my reactions. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah. And I was just gonna say before you said that, Al, is maybe for our next meetings, given the abbreviated nature of these meetings lately, it'd be good timing to get a kind of a comprehensive narrative on the canyon. You hear, we get pieces of it sometimes, and especially if you're on Zoom, if a comprehensive approach saying, this is where we started, this is where we are. The projected budget was, projected budget is, of course, just kind of a narrative, kind of an FAQ. So when you leave here and someone from the canyon says, so tell me about the canyon, that we can give them accurate information that's up to date, because it may help everybody in this room, not just the board, but everybody. Again, it's nice to have a little extra time in these when we're not leaving at noon like we were for quite a while. But I'd like to get a better understanding of the canyon. I feel like I've got the pieces. I just don't know what the path is now, the destination.
Yeah, part of what I think you've been seeing is a little bit of skittishness to get too deep into the weeds when these
100%.
landowner discussions are taking place, to say, okay, let's let that play out. And then once we know, give you a big comprehensive overview. I think you and I need to catch up with WGM on the discussion.
Yeah.
Al said.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Mason. So
It's kind of a checkpoint. It's good timing, October 8th, ribbon cutting and everything going on. So, and let's face it, only as good as your last deal. As soon as this one's in the rear view, it's gonna be, all right, where are we at with the canyon? That's all. I think it'd be just good to connect any dots that have changed dramatically and what the projected course is for it.
Looking at that next month.
Yeah, if you have time, if not, you can see it the next couple of months as we wrap this. That makes sense for everybody as well.
Starting to get questions.
Yeah, I wouldn't dare to answer something.
no, I think it'd be good for an update because we haven't really had one since we went before the tax resort in June.
Yeah, we just got some clarity from a landowner down there that we were waiting for, that wasn't the answer we would have most loved, but it's workable. We know what we have to do now, so let's get into it.
Sounds like a good time. Yeah, one sheet, nothing to, don't need a comprehensive report or anything. It's just a checkpoint, one sheet. Here's where we were, here's where we are, and this is where we're trying to go.
Good deal.
A map.
I'll tee it up for next month.
You're always great at those. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. All right. Morning.
Good morning. Hi. My name is Julie Merritt, and I'm one of the water rights specialists with WGM Group. And I know that I'm a new face here for all of you, but WGM has actually been kind of in the background with water rights for the district for a long time. We wrote a report back in 2015 that kind of formed the basis of looking at the district's water rights, and made some recommendations at that time of action items that you guys could work on to help improve the water rights situation. And none of that at the time, it wasn't like super pressing from the regulatory standpoint. So it's been kind of just information that's been sitting in the background. And with the new leadership coming on, with Johnny getting hired, it seemed like our discussions kind of led to, it would be a good time to maybe look at those water rights issues. So I put together a little presentation here, and what I wanted to start with, just give you guys a little bit of a background on water rights, because I don't really know where everybody stands as far. I know it's a kind of an esoteric part of the law. a lot of people are just aware that background or that water rights are out there. So I can give a little background, talk about the current status of the district's water rights, and then give you guys an idea of the overall picture of where we're trying to get to. And then hopefully leave some time for questions if you guys have any. So we can go ahead to the next slide. There's a lot that could be said about water rights, but I think for the purposes of the board, some of the main things that you need to understand is that in Montana, water rights is broken down into kind of two time frames that we look at. We look at water rights that existed prior to 1973, and those are under the authority of the Montana Water Board. And then any water rights that were established after 1973 are under the authority of the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation, or the DNRC. And the DNRC also has authority over change authorizations. So we have a part of the Montana water law allows that if you have an existing water right, you can change certain aspects of that as your needs change over time. And the application to change your water right is something that the DNRC reviews. So some of the key elements to understand, I mean, there's a lot of nuances to water rights, but basically it's about place of use, which is the legal description of where you're allowed to use the water, the points of diversion. For the most part for you, that is the wells that serve the water supply. The purpose of the water rights. So there's a long list of purposes. Currently, the water rights that are owned by the district are municipal. Some of them are listed as commercial use. We also have some that just say multiple domestic or lawn and garden. Those are ones that were generally originally developed by the individual developers and then have become owned by the district over time. So the purpose is something that we do need to address. Of course, flow rate and volume are the two keys of how many people can you supply water to, and do you have enough flow rate to meet the needs of the water supply system? So what we're going to be focusing on here in the near future is changes to your existing water rights. And so I wanted to touch on, under the law, the things that can be changed through the DNRC process and things that cannot be changed. So by law, you can change the place of use, the point of diversion, the purpose, or the place of storage under an existing water right. Things that can't be changed are the period of time during the year when you use the water or divert the water, and you can't change the flow rate or the volume through a change application. So those are some key things. And then what I wanted to demonstrate with this map is this is what the district's water rights place of use currently looks like. The purple boundary is the current district boundary. And you'll notice that there is some red hatching, which is the Mountain Village water rights, and the blue hatching, which is the Meadow Village water rights. And then if you looked really close at this map, you would see the Aspen Grove and the Lone Moose water rights that does cover really small areas. Mostly what we're concerned with is the Mountain Village rights and the Meadow Village rights. If you look especially at the Mountain Village rights, the upper part there, you'll see that there's some different shapes that are covered. That is because those water rights have been developed at different times, and they were, at the time they were developed, they were assigned to different places of use. So one of the key things that we will be looking to do is to just make all of the place of use consistent for all of the water rights. Right now, you're technically probably not in compliance with your water rights because there's water being used in places that is not authorized under the water rights, and places that are, like you see some gaps in there where there is district boundary that there's no water rights that cover it right now. So that's just kind of an overview to give you an idea of what were some of the problems that we're starting out with. So go on to the next slide. Before I sally forth, any questions? Want me to- So let's look at the Meadow Village. Just can you go up one slide. The Meadow Village rights are actually in pretty good shape. There's 3 water rights that cover that whole area. And so there's 2 claims, and that means there's 2 water rights that were established prior to 1973. And 1 large permit that was, that was probably issued in the mid-90s. And it covers the whole place of use as well. The place of use for those 3 water rights together was made consistent across the Meadow Village place of use by a change authorization that was issued by the DNRC in 2000. So part of the DNRC process with both permits and change authorizations is that you eventually have to come back to the department and say, we completed our project. So with that change authorization, currently there's a completion deadline of the end of 2033. So we have time to say that we did all of the stuff that we said we would do under that change authorization. Then, like I said, the Meadow Village rights are in really pretty good shape. Those are all listed as municipal purpose, which is good. That gives the district a lot of flexibility. And to be clear, under the DNRC's rules, a county water and sewer district is identified as a municipality. So the municipal use it gives you the most flexibility, and it's recognized under the law by the DNRC.
Can that timeline be extended to 2033?
It currently is 2033, and if we do another change, we can extend it further.
To avoid that, if thank you for saying this.
Yeah, keeping that date out there, because you have a lot of flow rate and volume to perfect. So the total flow rate of those water rights, as I've got up there, is just over 12,000 gallons per minute. And the key is that volume at over 1,500 acre feet. You guys currently are only using about a third of that, if I understand, based on the WGS report from 2022. So you have a lot of volume yet to perfect. And so that's the remaining volume using the numbers that WGS put together in that 2022 report is over 1,100 acre feet that you still have to provide. So that's a lot of cushion to work with. But if we look at the Mountain Village, that situation is a little more complicated. There's 6 total water rights that cover that. There's 3 pre-73 claims and 3 post-73 permits. As I mentioned when we were looking at the map, that place of use has not been made consistent. For the most part, those water rights are listed with a commercial use instead of a municipal use. Under one of those permits, there is an agreement to sell water, potable water, to the Yellowstone Club, and that is covered under those water rights. And again, there is a fairly big cushion for flow rate and volume. You've got almost 1,900 gallons per minute on those water rights combined, and 894 acre feet. And I didn't include the volume for Yellowstone Club in that. I've got another table that shows that number. But just for the district, there's over 600 acre feet remaining to be perfected under the Mountain Village water rights. Again, you've got a pretty good cushion there. So that's kind of where we have a few other kind of various water rights that we will look at as part of this change process. There were water rights associated with the Hidden Village wells, the Lone Moose wells, the Aspen Grove wells. And then, of course, the district has the surface water rights from the West Fork of the West Gallatin. And there's a substantial volume associated with irrigation of lawn and garden that covers the whole district. So you have the ability to use that surface water if it's needed for that purpose. So our overall objectives with the water right application that we've been talking about is to make all of the water rights have a consistent and complete place of use. If some of the new wells that have been drilled and tested can be added to the existing water rights, that would be one aspect that we would look at, so we can increase your capacity. And some of the wells that maybe are not good producers or have not good water quality could be replaced with either some of the wells that have already been drilled or wells that could be drilled to replace those. And then we want to make sure that across the board, all the water rights have a consistent municipal purpose. That'll make, in the long run, it'll make things easier for you guys as a district as annexations come along. The water rights law gives a little bit more leniency to municipalities for annexations and being able to include new area into your place of use than they do for commercial operations. So it will be key to clarify that all of those water rights should be listed with a municipal purpose. And that's the high I put together. I'm sure you guys may have some questions, and I'm happy to try and field any of those.
Sounds like we need a housekeeping exercise on all our water rights.
It is
Is that a pretty accurate statement?
Yeah, it's a big housekeeping exercise. And you're not the first ones to go through it. I mean, we've worked with a number of municipalities to do similar situations. And quite this is probably easier than some that we've done. So we did this for the city of Missoula, and they've got about 65 water rights to deal with. So I think we can get it done. The DNRC's process is detailed, and so it'll take time. It's probably it'll take about 18 months to get through the DNRC process with an application. And that part takes some patience.
So this will dovetail into our next topic as we talk about coal smoke and aluminum, flat iron, things like that.
Yes.
So the timing seems to be great because we have annexation. Sounds like we have some things that are not compliant or consistent, whatever, with what they are. Have you been able to reach out to some of the parties that are at the table right now, whether it's Boyne or whether it's Flatiron, to try to start gathering data and things that we'll need?
I will need to get my hands on the information about the wells that have been drilled. I've been in communication with Ron and Jake and Johnny about some of that work that's been done. So that'll be a key first step is how can we, under the DNRC's rules, how many of those wells can we pull into this process? Because this is a closed basin, and getting new water rights for any of those wells would be a huge trick. It would be very difficult. You would need to buy water from someone in order to permit any of those new wells. The hope would be that we can get some of those rated under the existing water rights.
So in summary, it sounds like we are good on right capacity, and we can basically take on some of the source capacity. Is that an accurate statement then?
Yes, under the water rights.
This comes into you, right? David, we talked about this the other day. The idea that, the district comes to the table with the water right. Source is a different condition, I think, from what Susan was saying. So this is really important. Everyone starts communicating with you.
Yeah.
So that we can maximize the right to source. Make
Yes.
sense?
I would agree, and so I think it's good timing that we get these lines of communication open and exchange the information that we need to, and we'll just take the water right process kind of one step at a time and make sure that everyone that information is plugged in on that process.
What else? Better.
Tough question. What's the relationship between water rights and actual water?
Well, the water right, that's a good question. In Montana, the state owns the water, and when you hold a water right, it's a right to use that water. So the water rights that are on record with the DNRC run the gamut of stuff that is simply paper that doesn't really represent any use out on the ground, to water rights that really clearly reflect what people are using. Municipal water rights are kind of a little bit of a different animal, because like for an irrigator, say, you know, they have a water right for 1 CFS to irrigate their 40 acres. They use that whole thing up to their full amount, right? All the time. Well, for a municipality, if you used right up to your full amount, you would be in trouble. Like municipalities need to have more right than what they're going to deliver on any given day, because you can't just always be right up to the edge of it. So depending on the purpose of the use, the nature of that kind of changes. I think there's an expectation that the municipal water rights are always going to have some cushion. Did that get to your question?
Not really.
Well, okay.
Silence is deafening.
Tell me more and I'll try again.
Is there any attempt to figure out actually how much water is available in a basin compared to what the water rights would allow to be drawn up?
Yeah, that is a good question. So the adjudication is not an attempt to determine water availability. It is a legal process that just says this is what people have a right to. And part of that is because no one ever like take, you know, the Gallatin River. All the people who have water rights on the Gallatin River don't instantaneously all use their maximum amount of water at you know, all 24/7. So there's kind of this understanding that you have a right to that, but if you add up all the water rights on the source, that's not necessarily going to be equivalent to the amount of water that's in the source, because of that nature of not everybody's using their 100% of their water rights 100% of the time.
So to add to it, maybe to help clarify a little bit, we have an aquifer. What we're going to do is we're going to do static and drawdown testing on the wells. That will hopefully give us a recharge rate. So we can kind of get a health of the well, not the aquifer as a whole, but of the well, so we can say we're not pumping out more or faster than it's naturally recharging.
Yeah, and that's what those pump tests will tell us. You know, so you pump one well and you measure the drawdown in a nearby well, and that will tell you like how much water there is there to be withdrawn and the rate of recharge. So, you know, if you pump one of those wells and your nearby well draws down a lot really fast, you know that you're probably taxing that aquifer more than you should be, because you're pumping out more than the recharge is happening.
Yeah, but that's happening on the mountain. I think Lake's a really good example. The lake wells all around there. You go the lake, the hill, to Sitting Bull, to White Otter. They're all so tight in that area that the lake wells are all showing connectivity. So your source isn't there. You have to get out of there now.
And we've been doing 7-day pump tests on all the test wells.
What made that clear to me was when Spanish Peaks put in those big wells out at Horseshoe. And the Aspen Grove as well, it's pretty much dried up, along with a lot of private wells up in Spanish
Beach is north, up in,
and had the re-drill and put on the. Who adjudicates that?
Yeah, that's another good question. So, I mean, if you think about an aquifer, there's usually they talk about a thickness to the aquifer, and someone may have their well just like barely poked into the top of the pool. And so when someone comes along and puts their straw down deeper in that pool and starts sucking water, and that shallower well can't get water anymore, that is not considered by the DNRC to be adverse effect. It's not considered to be adverse effect because it depends on the situation, but in theory, that person with the shallow well could dig their well deeper and get water. So it's those situations, it can rise to the level of adverse effect, but often it doesn't. And that is a matter for the DNRC. And then if you really have a problem that can't be resolved by like deepening your well or putting the pump down lower, the avenue is through district court. So there's not a lot of good resolution for groundwater interference situations.
Dick, for the rest of the board, that Robert, I think it was Rose, or from the Bureau of Land Mines. Remember the presentation they made? I don't know how many board members were on. That's a good reference, maybe, Johnny, for you to pull and circulate with the board. It was remember they had the Crowther well, Crowther went driving right up there in Spanish Peaks North.
Yeah.
And it was a fractured aquifer, and it was a really good lesson. It was all in 3D.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone started allowing them to do test wells so you could get a more accurate 3D. A lot went on in the meadow, but up there was a case study for what you're asking right now. So.
And it's nice to have that information from the Bureau of Mines. Is really valuable that they've done those studies, because
That wasn't a question of a shallow mine going or a shallow well going deeper.
yeah,
It was a lot more complicated.
Well, and the same thing in those three Aspen Groves wells, because they started pulling out bentonite.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they could have gone deeper. Did we ever look into that? Ron's not here.
No, slips right now.
yeah, and that's true. Sometimes if you have an aquifer that it has a really slow recharge, you're mining the water when you take it out. So you're taking it out at a much greater rate than it's being replenished. And that type of situation is not it's not sustainable for anyone who's got.
Scott had something behind you there.
I don't know, Julie, had a chance to read committee's flow capacity.
I read the parts of it that I felt most looked at the water rights, but I haven't read the whole thing.
Okay. I think you weigh in on this, but I think he gets into this. His that report was both looking at water rights, but also available water. There's some projections on what you actually have. Say water versus just.
What was that source again?
Western Groundwater Services, marketing, I think it was 2022.
Yeah.
And we'll digest that as well and pull it in your water master plan that we're doing right now, as well as Julie's work. So we'll hopefully have this in the spot. It's not gonna, I think Mark's work's not gonna be the final story of what's actually out there, but it's a start.
And I think the Bureau of Mines and Geology study came after Mark's work, so there's some good groundwater information that we can pull together on this, because I think your point maybe with your question is that there's a big difference between what the water rights say on paper and the amount of water that's actually available.
Just a buffer on, you mentioned like for ag rights, they can go right up to that threshold that municipalities have a little bit of a buffer. Is that 10% of that? If we have 1,200 acre feet remaining in our existing rights, what can we reach before we are over our?
I think that is probably more of actually of an engineering question than it is a water rights question. And also what the district is comfortable with. I mean, I think maybe sometimes that depends on just the order of magnitude of the size of your district. And for something like a big city like Bozeman, they need to have more of a cushion maybe than what you guys as a district need, just based on the number of people that you need to serve. So I'm not sure that there's, and they're in the water rights regulations, there's no specific which that needs to be there.
So it's our own interpretation, and so Scott, that would be kind of like peak days or peak demand or whatever, we'd have to go back and look at that, on the water
Yeah.
available, et cetera, well, and so.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have that defined in our water master plan.
Great.
Do we run into any of the issues that you often see in agriculture with junior and senior water rights getting cut off? Is that applicable?
In theory, the Montana has what we call conjunctive management, so groundwater. Conjunctive management, groundwater and surface water are legally considered to be connected. So in theory, you guys are still subject to the priority system, and those ag rights down below you have priority dates that exceed yours by like 100 years. But part of that process of making a call on water rights is that the person who's making the call has to show that it is a call that has an effect. So if an irrigator in the valley has an 1865 priority date on the Gallatin and they want to make a call on you guys, they would have to demonstrate that you actually shutting off your water would result in them getting water in that season. And the chances of them being able to demonstrate that, I think, are small. So there hasn't, I don't know if any of you have probably doesn't follow what happens with irrigators in the state of Idaho, but they have a lot of groundwater pumpers who have junior priority dates to the surface water right holders. And those groundwater pumpers do get shut off. So they don't get to irrigate their potato patch when the surface water rights are not being fulfilled. So there is a possibility, but you have to be able to show that connection. And in their case, those big wells are right in the Snake River Plain, and the connection is easy to draw. For you guys and the Gallatin River, it's a little easier, a little harder to make that connection. I don't want to take up all of your time because I can talk about water rights all day long. But any other questions?
No, very helpful. Thank you.
All right.
What are our next steps as a board and entity to both get the house in order and anticipate these annexations that will have water? How do we make sure that we have a template that we can check the boxes on?
So our next steps is continue to gather data. We'll do a pre-application run through to make sure we got everything. We're not going to run into any obstacles. We can better define our place of use and get all that together. We'll meet with DNRC again, go through all that, and then once that's done, then we'll correct anything that needs to be corrected, and then submit the final application, which will take the 18 months.
I
Up
think,
to 18 months.
from the time that we start that pre-application process till we get something issued will be about 18 months.
But maybe this is where you were going. So let's say we do that process. The moment we agree to an annexation, we're out of compliance again, aren't we?
Yeah, and so what I would.
Let's say municipality versus point of use.
Right, what I would propose is that if there are annexations that are on the table now that you think are going to be coming, that we just go ahead and include those in this, even if it hasn't happened already. Because by the time we get to the end of the 18 months, I'm guessing that those will either be done or be much closer to being done. And so that's what I would propose that we do.
And that's what we talked about. Yeah. Just presentation.
I don't think so.
No, I got it yesterday.
We should circulate the board. This was, by the way, this was exceptional. I like Scott, this is kind of what I was thinking about for the canyon. Tight brief, but we can just put in one file, canyon, or water rights.
Yeah.
And this was really, really helpful. One last question. What percentage did you say was that we have in municipality right now?
All of the, Meadow Village water
But
rights,
not the mountain.
but not the
Got
mountain. So, the mountain water rights are listed as a commercial use currently.
Got it. Okay.
And I honestly couldn't tell you why that is.
And our goal is to have everything municipality.
Yes.
Get maximum flexibility. Great. Yeah, you'd circulate that, John, it'd be great. Thank you.
Alright. Well, thank you very much. And it
That
was
was
nice
great.
to
Thank
meet
you.
all of you guys. Look forward to more conversations.
Yeah.
Upset.
Yeah, these don't have to be monthly, but boy, every other month, just kind of update where we are with that. You just include that in the package, same thing. Yep. All right. That was great. Development subdivisions.
I have a question on these.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. So scan up just a little bit. Where's the, you go to the bottom of, these are all the, right, okay. So help me understand, when I look at total fees on the application, it shows this number. But when you go to the supporting documentation,
That's,
it's a much larger
that's
number.
a mistake on my part.
Okay, because they all show, every one of them has this as a
Yeah.
total,
Okay,
including, because there were 4.
they should all say C worksheet on that.
Yeah,
line.
okay. Okay, that makes me feel better, because I was just racking my brain trying to figure out how do I reconcile the.
Yeah, that's not right.
Okay,
They should all say what on it.
sorry, well,
C worksheet, all of the actual totals for those are on the worksheets, and I don't know where that even.
well, on the very last one, I think that one.
That one, correct, yeah.
That's
And maybe it just, I
totally not a worksheet. Well,
wasn't trying to pick up the mistake, I thought there was something I was just missing.
no, that's. Yeah, that's my mistake.
That's okay.
Well, you got into those, Al.
I was gonna say, did you tell Al read the report?
Sometimes numbers just jump out at me. And then I gotta figure it out.
Al is always the numbers man. Let's be clear.
So we have 5 Riverview apartment complexes and 1 house in Spanish Peaks, that we permitted.
Got it.
Please look at the worksheets and not that.
Yeah. I think it must have picked up the number from that one house, because that was the same number too, and I thought that's really strange.
Super weird,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, they do. They all say that.
Carter, you didn't, well, when I sent it out to you, you didn't see that? No, I don't think that's kind of weird.
But it's accurate. Yes, right, it's accurate.
Kreider said, hurry up and pay that number.
It's already paid.
All the permitting that I had, so.
All right. Anything else, development subdivision?
No, we're working on the Spanish Peaks annexation agreement. Mr. Olson is out hunting this week. He called me yesterday. And I gotta get in touch with Susan. And I haven't.
Yeah, let's just get formula requests. She's on every meeting and see if we can move this ball along a little bit. Great. Coal smoke, you're here. And then we're talking about coal smoke.
It's still with Susan for her opinion. So, yeah.
Anything, David?
I don't think anything additional.
Let's see, you said you have, when we were talking, you're talking about there's gonna be a meeting in October, so that will be before our next meeting. Is that a CIP meeting you're talking about?
No, this is, community week.
Community, week, that's what you were saying. So
In council.
this will be a part of that. and-
Putting on, we plan to at least have a housing trust table set up in that meeting and field any questions or feedback on.
I'm gonna tee the ball up for you. No, David has community week presentation or presence. All right,
And we can provide an update. We had a zone map amendment that
Yeah.
was unanimously approved this week, which is successful. Exciting to be able to move forward with the density we want to, in the right place, so.
Great.
Yeah.
We had talked last, you had just made it through the advisory and you're on the docket, I think, for the, okay, so that went through. Well, great.
Yeah, we still have the official county commission act, I think, but it's clear both planning groups.
Like another project did as well, right? An extension, okay. All right, I don't know what to do with all this time. Next up, anything, Johnny, for you?
Next meeting, October 15th.
Brian?
Yeah.
I did have a question, something I've been thinking about on these annexations and dispersal capacity. Do we know where we're at with the golf courses, but most important, I think, the snowmaking?
Yeah. I had this as one thing I was gonna tag you on just before. October is always a big month for us, as far as wrapping up, because irrigation has to end, I think, October. Yeah, with the, economic uptake and yada, yada. So we should get a comprehensive report on the irrigation, Adam, maybe any anomalies or anything like that, or, from the summer, from the look of the ponds, I think we all drive by and look over and say, wow, those ponds sure are low. So I think it was a good summer for irrigation, but it would be great to say, all right, where are we tracking this year with disposal? 10-year trend, which we used to look at in our irrigation meeting, just say, where are we going? So you can get a trend line going forward. And then I think what you're getting at is what impact did the YC snowmaking program have? And maybe get an update as we go into the winter, because it's all part of disposal. Where are we at with the Spanish Peaks? So we know what will be winter disposal as well with their snowmaking. And I don't know, is that a pilot program with Spanish Peaks?
Spanish Peaks permit is still out in public comment.
Got it, okay.
So we will do 20 or 22 million. We did 22 million last year in YC for snowmaking. I think they're on track to do that again this year, but we're wrapping it up. So yeah, we can put that report together and have it. Thanks.
So is Spanish or is Yellowstone Club a pilot program yet, or is it?
No, that's permitted.
It's great to know.
Full bore.
Yeah, so again, that's bundled into the irrigation plan, or the irrigation summary for the summer, disposal plan for the winter. It's just good to know where we're at, and then just put a kind of a budget together, what you expect with the snowmaking and whether or not Spanish Peaks. So
yeah, we actually pulled surface water this year off the West Fork, so we'll have that in there. And
I'll have a summary report for the irrigators group in our October 1st meeting, and then.
always good to wrap up the summer. Visually, it's like you had a really good summer. Obviously, the fish.
Adam did good. He did real good, so.
You know how full the ponds are, like at YC and Spanish Peaks, and your report kind of talks to like 45 days on the golf pond and 140 days or whatever on the other pond, but how does that relate to the storage availability?
They're sitting on the mountain. Yeah, Rich and John share that at our irrigator groups meetings. I don't have a accurate representation right now, but I'll get that through. Are you guys for
That ties into the 30 million gallons, whatever else for snowmaking.
You got it.
On how it all.
It was always like a scoreboard in October, where it would be one sheet and it would say pond levels, available capacity, and then you'd have plus or minus, and then you'd get into just how much irrigation. We used to have kind of, Mike Duke and I would have a little contest going with who got rid of the most at the end of the summer. It was a year where we were at 99 million and he was at 100 million. So that was a big year. Well, with Spanish Peaks as well.
Did Spanish Peaks make snow last year?
No.
They will.
They made snow, but it wasn't with the reclaimed water.
Okay, but it will be this year as a pilot program.
If that permits, it wouldn't be a pilot program, it would be permitted essentially, if they're successful getting through the public comment period.
Yep.
And then into the,
So not a pilot program for the recycle?
they're trying to permit, same as YC, trying to permit up on Southern Comfort, some of those ones up there.
Yeah, right now they can only make snow.
You'd have monitoring and things like that, and then they review it after, but
That's right.
YC's in, I mean, they're bolted into the system now.
25 million?
Yeah, they have their infrastructure in place. They're just waiting to flip the switch and reclaim the water.
20, they didn't use reclaim before.
No, just all fresh before.
YC.
YC was reclaimed.
Oh, okay.
Is there a timetable on that comment period?
I think that the goal is to try to get it in place this fall.
Yeah, this fall, I think comment is
Still making seasons?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been under comment.
Yeah, it's been under comment for a while.
So YC is 25 million? And Spanish Peaks will be.
It's 20 or 22, somewhere.
Yeah, I think, well, I thought they were projecting for 40.
Yeah, is there
Well,
two?
two steps.
Two steps. Total was 40, so hopefully, once it's all said and done, to 60, and then we're looking to expand it from there, so.
Great. What else? John?
We all know about this Thursday, tips up, I want to call it tops up, I don't know why, like Hungry Moose and Lone Moose. 4 to 8. And then October 8th, we have our dedication for the work. Here's our ribbon cutting scissors that will be presented to Ron after with his famous quote, "The biggest and greatest projects." The chamber will provide the ribbon, and everybody can leave messages and stuff. So that is from 11 to 2. We'll have the little dedication ceremony, and then everybody can walk through the facility. We will have rope or caution tape up in areas we don't want them to go into, so, because of active construction and stuff. It's all moving along over there.
Full operation by.
December.
31st at 11:59, wasn't it?
Yeah. Full operation, October, September. We won't get the generator until November, which adding that in and then doing the startup on that. Electrical stuff, making sure everything runs, and when we flip that switch onto the generator, hopefully stuff doesn't go wrong, and create all those other headaches for us. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So yeah, up to November, and then hopefully we can get stuff wrapped up. So they're hoping to be done by Thanksgiving.
The 2 megawatt generators, you might feel it when they start it up.
Then what?
2 megawatt generators, you might feel it up here when you start it up.
Got a little rumble in the ground. So.
What's the status on the service for the BSCO aren't over there getting service? That it? That our water and sewer to?
That,
The restroom,
No, the barn over in.
oh, they've already got it.
They've got everything, so that's up, going, people can live in that right now.
Yeah.
Great, yeah. I know there was a lot of anxiety about 3-4 months ago, check the box, great.
Yeah. Yeah, that was all done. Let's say June.
yeah, tied into the line that comes over from.
Thanks, right.
People are living over there.
People,
That's what I want, that's the test. Are they living? Yep.
They're been out for a minute, so I've already processed that. We're done with it.
It's just the toilet flushing.
The blood pot is flooding. All right, well, productive meeting, next month will be a good one, especially take a little extra time going over status reports.
Yeah. Yeah, everything's wrapping up pretty nice. Getting the safety stuff done, and we're getting our compliance or our manual done, and Deb is not here. He's running around somewhere, I think. We do have a new employee, Jeff Hodges, thank you. And then Eric Porter, no relation to Jake Porter, will be starting November 1st, I think. Yeah, November 1st. So then Peter Bedell will have a full crew. Rose is moving along with Amy and Lindsay's help on letting cover. We'll be sending out some information on service lines and stuff for homeowners. Gather information, still moving along with fog and
I was just gonna
all that stuff, so.
Never ending. How about anomalies? Any anomalies? How you feeling?
No, I mean, we've been working really hard on living copper, so you guys may hear that, maybe too, we're mailing out, the property managers, and also going out land and going, just to make sure that we can get that project complete by October 16th, as close as we can.
What is that?
Living copper, it's, DEQ rule revision that we're required to put together an inventory of all of the lines, the service lines, the types. So we've been working really hard with Ron, and the engineering firm, which one is it, Horse and Merrily?
October 16th.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah, it's been something we've been working on. You think Flint, Michigan. So if we identify any lead service lines that have to be replaced. And then the copper, back in the day, used to have lead soldering for all the copper and all that stuff too, so. But we do testing, for all that stuff, so we just gotta make sure all of our service lines are inventoried, and if there is any lead, we have a plan to get them replaced, which we don't think there is, but there's stuff that's been around for 50 years, so we'll find out. So yeah, we've just got a lot of irons in the fire and trying to keep everything going and moving along as best we can, so.
Yeah, October 15th, how's it work for everyone? Okay, confirm that date, unless anybody has an issue. And after that, how about a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
So moving.
Al, so the second, all in favor? All right, everybody on the way.